So we actually wrote a book on Air Force Squadron Vitality, and this article is a subset of that book. I was tasked by the Chief of Staff to take a look at Squadron Vitality. Myself and a team of about 5 core individuals did that work for 18 months and wrote a detailed report about 250 pages. It covered 3 sections. One was what we heard from airmen that we talked to in the field, and we interviewed over 20,000 Air Force airmen. The second piece was the vitality attributes or model that this article is focused on. And the third piece was a set of recommendations on what we might do to change the Air Force to, given what we have heard from airmen, how we could make those things in the vitality model happen more often. And the model really is a combination of both the things that we saw that made squadrons strong and things that we heard from airmen that were challenges with squadrons. It's built on the foundation, which we call clarity of purpose. You know, when we conduct a military operation, we're very good at understanding exactly what it is that we're trying to do, what the commander's intent is, and what our objectives are. We found that sometimes in organizations that is much less clear. We think it's pretty clear to our airmen, but as it turns out, often it's not. So that model is built on 3 things. The first is esprit de corps. Essential to any military unit. We broke that down into several sections. One is helping airmen identify as warfighters, helping them have a sense of belonging to the organization, and then helping them understand that they work really most effectively as a team. And then finally tying them to that higher purpose, that what the squadron does, or really what that squadron's contribution is to the nation's defense. The second section was purposeful leadership, and that's focused on the leadership of the squadron. It starts with leaders establishing that clear purpose. We called it success on purpose. Understanding what those things are that the squadron does, and then also having specified goals. In other words, not just trying to do what they've always done, but figure out a way to get better. The second area under purposeful leadership is productive mistakes. And that's good leaders make an environment where their airmen can make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. Certainly we want to avoid catastrophic mistakes, but creating an environment where airmen can learn from what they've done and get better is critically important. Thirdly, there's investing in people, and that's both helping them be better at their technical specialty as well as helping them just be better individuals and people. And then finally, there's supporting the airmen and families. Obviously in the Air Force, we have a special responsibility to individuals. We ask their members to go into difficult and hard places, and taking care of airmen when they're at home station, and taking care of their families when airmen deploy, whether that be their wife, their children, or their extended family, is critically important. And then finally, the last attribute or section of Squadron Vitality is verifiable mission success, and that's focused on the organization's output. And that's the organization understanding those vital few outcomes that they're trying to deliver, tied to that clarity of purpose, and then measuring how well they're doing in providing that. Right, so we refer to it a model. We also talk about it as attributes, and I think it's probably more the latter than the former. As I mentioned, it's an amalgamation of both things that we saw that were challenges in the Air Force and things that we saw where airmen were really doing a great job leading their squadrons. I see it as kind of a leadership dashboard where leaders at all levels, not just squadron commanders, but if you're leading a team of 2, if you're leading a flight, if you're leading a wing, I don't think it matters. It's a dashboard to look at and say, hey, how am I doing in these areas? Am I covering down in building esprit de corps, helping airmen identify as part of a team and tying them to a higher purpose? How am I doing in these 4 leadership quadrants, and how am I doing in terms of measuring verifiable mission success? Well, from the start, we always wanted to publish all of our findings so every airman in the Air Force could see what it is that we did and why we came to the conclusions that we came to. We think this is probably one of the most important sets. As I mentioned, the overall report had those 3 sections: the what airmen said, the systemic recommendations, and then this model, which is really our objective. We believe that putting this one piece out as an individual standalone article made a lot of sense. We wanted to widely distribute it so all airmen can see it. And as we said, we think this applies to leaders at all levels, whether you're leading just a group of people, whether you're leading a squadron or a much larger organization.